Hi everyone and welcome to NameHero.com. I'm Ryan, the founder and CEO. In this video, I'm proud to announce that we've launched our cloud-dedicated servers. We have 4 standard configurations that are available for immediate deployment. We've been doing cloud-dedicated for quite some time, mostly on custom requests. So a lot of our VPS hosting customers that they need more RAM, they need more processing power, they need more space. They've been able to upgrade to a cloud-dedicated. Now, since these are cloud-dedicated, this means that we can resize the VPS in real time over to the cloud dedicated. So there's no migration. It's just simply the whole instance of the VPS can be deployed onto its dedicated, on a dedicated cloud instance, which means the dedicated has its own processor, its own physical equipment, as well as being in a virtualized environment. So these are quite powerful servers. If you're looking for that next level of power, then our cloud dedicated line is certainly for you. And again, we've also done some custom deployments for customers on our web hosting and reseller hosting that get very big traffic spikes. We see this around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and of course other days of the year when specials are run, to where a site might not get a lot of traffic throughout the year, but certain days they get really big spikes and need the extra resources. So the our cloud dedicated servers, it's for our audience that's really looking for that next level of power. They're needing high resources, whether that be for a high traffic website, a large reseller web host, or a specific app developer that is developing or is running an app that really has high demands. So right here on our main page, if I click View Plans, you can see below our other hosting packages that we've always had, we list our cloud dedicated. So these start at $151.96 a month, and this is for our standard cloud dedicated, and it kind of goes on up from there. Now, if you've been following our YouTube and our VPS hosting plans, we just recently launched InterWorx on all of our VPS hosting packages for free, a free InterWorx license. And so InterWorx is a control panel that allows you the ability to host unlimited domains, unlimited accounts without licensing tiers. cPanel recently announced that a server is no longer licensed based on the entire server. It's based on account now. So it used to be with cPanel, you just license a server, create as much as you want. Well, now if you create 5 cPanel accounts, you're going to pay one price, but if you create 100 cPanel accounts, you're going to pay a lot more for that license. The InterWorx license is all inclusive, so it's just one license for the server, and you can put as much or as little as you want on top of your server. And also with cPanel, they charge extra for dedicated instances. So an instance with its own processor, like our cloud dedicated, it would be an extra license fee or more expensive than a VPS. Now, for those that still want cPanel Web Host Manager, we still do offer it, but there is those different tiers. So it just depends on how many cPanel accounts you need, depends on how much you pay. And I'll show you the specifics here in just a second. So if I head back over to our site and I click Compare Plans, and you can also get to these now at the top, you'll see a new link called Cloud Dedicated. And then this is where we feature these standard configurations. Now, of course, if you ever need custom, we can accommodate that request. But these 4 dedicated instances will pretty much cover all the sites out there. And you can always cluster a couple together, or we can figure out another solution if you don't see what you're looking for. But I would say for 99% of our audience, these will cover you in some capacity. To highlight that these have on-demand resources. So cloud dedicated is different from a traditional dedicated, meaning you can add RAM, you can add processing power, you can add disk space on demand. With a traditional dedicated server, you actually have to stop the server, power it down, unplug it, physically take it apart, and add the resources into it manually. With the cloud, it's virtualized. So if I'm on the standard and I find after a couple months that I'm needing more processing power, needing more RAM, needing more disk space, I can actually upgrade to the enhanced cloud with a couple clicks inside of the NameHero interface, and my whole standard cloud dedicated instance resizes automatically into the enhanced in just a couple of minutes to where I have access to these resources instantly. So there's no prolonged downtime downtime. There's no physically taking apart the server. There's no having to check with us to make sure we physically have the hardware. It's just you scale up from there. And, you can go all the way up to our hypersonic cloud. If you get a big burst of traffic one day, a post goes viral on Facebook, then you can just scale on up. And then when you're finished, when the resources kind of die down or the traffic dies down, you can scale on back down. So that's really the benefit, or the main benefit of the cloud, is that you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to processing power, RAM, storage, and many other aspects, and it loses that migration. And also, if you have a VPS with us here at NameHero, all of our VPSs are on the cloud. So if your VPS gets to the point where you need to upgrade to a dedicated, there's no migration. It's just a scale up process, and you'll just have to contact our billing team so they can show you the difference in the billing. And once everything on that is sorted, you pay the invoice, and then it just scales on up automatically. So these are very powerful, and I'm super excited to get them live because I think a lot of our customers are going to find a lot of value in them. Okay, so let's talk about these 4 configurations, and I'll highlight some of the main features, and then I'll walk you through a quick sign up so you can see how it works, and then expect many more YouTube videos, blog posts, and tutorials on how to fully manage these, even though we are handling the fully management, but just how to get the most out of your cloud dedicated. Okay, so the main difference between all of these is the processor, the CPU. And you can see, unlike a VPS, you have this physical processor that's dedicated to you. It's only you. So only you and whoever you put on your server. So those resources are not distributed amongst other VPSs. It's not just virtual cores. You have physical cores with the dedicated. So the standard has 3.8 gigahertz for one processor. The enhanced has 3.6 gigahertz. But if you notice up here, this is the Intel Xenon version 3 versus version 5. The version 5 actually has faster clock speeds, and so that's why you're going to see 3.6 versus 3.8. But if you split test them, you will find the enhanced cloud performs more efficiently. And then if we get up here to the enterprise, you're going to see again 3.8 gigahertz. It's the upgraded model from the V3. It's the E5. And then hypersonic, you're going to see 2.1 gigahertz, but you have 2. So instead of having just one processor, you have 2, which gives you even more power because this doubles down your cores and your threads. And if you click right here, you can see 2 dedicated CPUs, 1, 1, and 1. So that's the processing power. Now, if we get down here, we can see these are physical cores. So the standard's 4, enhanced is 4, enterprise is 6, and hypersonic is 16. And beside that's the threads. So all of these are hyper-threaded, meaning that you have this additional processing power. So if you're looking at, like, you're monitoring your server load, with 8 threads, your load should stay below 8. And virtually even lower than that. But 8, once you start getting there, then you're starting to max out that processing power, and you might need to upgrade. And so you can see with hypersonic, you can go all the way up to 32 server load, which again, that's really high, but it does give you a lot of flexibility and can help you, determine which one's best for you. And then of course we've got the RAM, and this is again fully dedicated inside of a physical box for you, 8 gigabytes, 15 gigabytes, 31 gigabytes, and then the massive 62. So that's definitely available to you, and I really don't see anyone needing more than 62, but of course if you do, we can offer that as well. Next is a storage. SSD drives. All of these have solid state drives. We don't use traditional SATA hard drives here at NameHero, and I happen to have one beside me for demonstrations. This is your traditional SATA drive. Look how big. It's got a lot of spinning parts, known to fail, not near as high as redundancy. These were used, throughout the 90s and throughout the first decade of the 2000s. Mainly, everyone used this. And beside it is a solid state drive, and I just broke a piece off of it. But you can see how small these are, and they don't have those moving pieces inside, so they're really high reliability. And I've actually got several of them here. You can see 3 of them stacked together is still not near the size of the old SATA drives. So, SSD drive, that's the way to go. And, nowadays, even most computers, personal computers that you buy, all Macs have SSD drives. And if you're moving from a traditional hard drive or SATA, you're going to notice a lot faster read-write, website response time right off the bat. Now, with that said, the storage, it's a little bit more expensive. So you can get a old school SATA drive 1,800 gigabytes, 2 terabytes of space, relatively cheap. Now SSDs are not as cheap, so that's why the disk space or the storage space is lower than what you'd see in a SATA, but it's much more efficient. And that's also why I recommend not storing backups on those. If you need backups or a backup drive for any of these, we can attach a block storage volume, which is a lot cheaper than SSD, to store your backups. SSD space is not good to store large zip space or zip files or compressed files because it's just wasted. You're wasting space that you can use for your website or application. So keep that in mind. Anytime if you need additional storage for backups, we can add that on. You just have to reach out to our sales team and we can do it. And we will automate that eventually. So the standard's 210, Enhance is 450, Enterprise is 460, and Hypersonic is 900. All of these are using RAID, and so RAID mirrors the data in real time. So you have 210 in the standard usable storage, but there's actually a second solid-state drive inside of your instance that's being mirrored. And so even though SSDs are extremely reliable, if you ever had the one lemon, or if you did have an incident to where that drive failed, your other drives mirrored it in real time and you don't have any data loss. Now that's not to be confused with a backup because you can't necessarily take that data and restore it from a backup, but it's just mirrored in real time. So essentially inside of your dedicated you have 2 of these and they're being mirrored in real time. So say this bad boy fails, then this one here picks it up. We simply do this, swap this over, replace this new, and you're all set. And very minimal downtime with that. And so that's definitely a big benefit. This is RAID 1, and these are RAID 10. If we look at bandwidth, all incoming bandwidth is free and unmetered. We only meter the outgoing bandwidth. And so it's 5 terabytes a month for all of them. If you need more, then we can of course upgrade that, and you'll see that through the order process that I'm about to demonstrate. A lot of providers out there, they don't do incoming free. So you can see we've highlighted here that incoming's free. And so you might see other providers where you're seeing like 20 terabytes or 10 terabytes. That's because they're monitoring both the inbound and outbound bandwidth. So they're essentially kind of doubling it. Whereas we're saying, hey, don't even worry about the inbound. Here's what the outgoing bandwidth is. Being CEO of NameHero, we have some very large instances with thousands of websites on them. Very rarely do I see one go over 5 terabytes. So just keep that in mind. Bandwidth, I don't even think it's really a measurable unit nowadays because it is so cheap, and especially using CDNs like Cloudflare, you don't really have an incident where you're going to go over these unless you just have like an extremely high video streaming site like YouTube or Netflix. Then you're going to run over it, but there is options to upgrade it. But I think the average websites out there are not going to come close to it. Now, all of these are fully managed. So fully managed at NameHero, it means it comes with a control panel that you can set up your sites. Your customers will have in control panels. We support the base operating system, which is CentOS 7, and we do proactive service restoration. So, if Apache fails, or if your mail server fails, or MySQL fails, then we will come in and actually make sure that that's back online. We're monitoring it 24/7, 365. So since you're on a cloud dedicated, if something fails in the middle of the night, you're asleep, don't worry about it. We're going to fix it and get it back running before you wake up. So you don't have to worry about getting up in the night and doing that. So that's on all of our cloud dedicateds. They all come with the Dev Toolkit, Server Essentials, and Superhero features. So you can highlight over each one of these and see, the free and automatic SSL, one-click WordPress installs and staging, one-click or automatic WordPress updates. Ruby and Python are options. All of these have Maria Database, which is a drop-in replacement for MySQL, a lot faster and much better performance. Your MySQL applications, WordPress and stuff will work just as normal. You don't have to worry about it. They'll be more efficient and secure. CentOS 7 is configured and installed with Apache. All of them have the multi-PHP selector. So if you have sites using different versions of PHP, or you have customers that want different versions, that's of course possible. Offsite backups are available, and we'll talk about that in our sign-up. The CSF firewall is installed and configured. You have full root access. So these are your servers. You can do what you want to. If you want to customize all the way up to the OS, you can. Unlike our other, our shared and reseller hosting, those you don't have root access to, so you're kind of limited to our settings. With our VPS and our cloud dedicated, you can customize whatever you need for your business. Superhero features, these are all instantly scalable. You can scale up in real time, add to resources. There is a free control panel, InterWorx, which we'll talk about. Free SSD drives. Softaculous comes with these. Softaculous is a one-click installer. There is no fee for that license. We cover that. You can have PHP FPM or Lightspeed's PHP. Cloudflare ready with Railgun. All of them are ready for Cloudflare. There's a one-time setup fee, which you'll see in the sign-up process. We have a 99.9 server uptime guarantee. So a lot of providers out there, they say 99.9 uptime. What they're really talking about, if you go read the fine print, is the network's online 99.9% of the time. And, that really does you no good if your website's not online 99.9% of the time. So with our cloud dedicateds and all of our hosting products, your website is online 99.9%. And I know I can say that, but if you scroll down the bottom of the site, you can see third-party reports we provide every year to show transparency and also prove that and sustain that claim. All right, so that's our options here. If you go down here, you can read a little bit more. We've got this, nerd out in the details, our reviews. You can watch the setup tutorial. Right now, to coincide with our launch, these are all 20% off, and it's a recurring discount. So we very, very, very rarely do this at NameHero, provide recurring discounts. And so this is for as long as you stay subscribed or as long as you keep your dedicated for life, this discount is recurring. These are limited, one per customer, and it is first come, first served. So those who use them up and get them. Those who wait don't get them. So that's just kind of how it works. But 20% off recurring on all of these right now. Go on here, you can see our reviews. We've got a ton of text that explains our cloud dedicateds and what makes these different. If you go on down here, you can see our some benefits, the one-click apps. And I want to talk about InterWorx really quick. So we just recently announced on our blog that our VPSs come with an InterWorx license for free. As I mentioned, cPanel is now charging for licenses or for per accounts. InterWorx is all inclusive. And that's the same with our dedicateds. It's InterWorx comes free on them all. Create as many accounts as you want. If you want Web Host Manager and cPanel, that's just fine. You just have to purchase the appropriate license tier. And Softaculous is included as well. But here's a bunch of the features from InterWorx. If you're not familiar, read through this. Here's a demo on InterWorx control panel. Here's how you can deploy WordPress with InterWorx. Web Host Manager versus NodeWorx. NodeWorx is InterWorx's version of Web Host Manager, the master or the reseller control panel. cPanel versus SiteWorx. SiteWorx is InterWorx's version of cPanel. So this is like the end user's control panel. If you have customers you're setting up, obviously they don't get master access. They get access to their unique SiteWorx account. So this compares the two. And of course, you can call us, chat us, or submit a ticket or email, and we'll get right back to you 24/7, 365. And again, if you go down here, you can compare everything. And we do have more and more videos and tutorials. So, most of your questions will be answered on this page. So, I encourage you, watch this video, read through the page, and you should be able to make your decision pretty easily. But if you still have questions, of course, our team's available. All right, so I'm going to deploy a standard cloud to show you how the process works. And if you want to follow along, feel free to do so. So I'm going to click on Order Now to deploy. I need to select the domain. This is going to be the primary domain for my cloud dedicated. This is going to be the domain for the host name, which is the name of the server, and the name servers by default. So, if you're already using this domain, then you need to make sure that you're prepared to transfer that data over. Some people register a separate domain for their dedicated. It's really up to you. It's really however you want to go about doing it. You just need to be able to modify the host name's A record. So if you want to use a domain you're currently using, but you don't want to move all the data over, you just need to be able to set up the DNS at its appropriate location. Again, but you've got options to register a new one, transfer a domain from the other registrar, or use a current domain. Now, I've got a sample one inside of inside of my account, so I'm just going to use it. So I'm going to use keydiets.com. Click Use, and here's our configurable options. So I'm going to get the standard dedicated. Here's my processor speed, my cores, my RAM, my storage, my bandwidth, and it's fully managed. So now I can configure. First, I have to give it a name. So this is going to be the name of the server. So we're just going to call it dead test for dedicated test. This will be dead test .keydiets.com. So whatever you want to name your server, name it here. Some people do alpha, beta, gamma, whatever. But this allows you to identify the server, and also this is the host name, so it means when you're going to NodeWorks or you're setting up other sites, your customers may see this. So name it something that's appropriate. Server 1 works, server 101 works, and especially if you plan on adding more, you want to have a naming convention to where it makes sense. Root password. This is going to be the password that has master access to the server. Please make it hard to guess. So that means use uppercase, lowercase, special characters. Don't make it something you can remember. Write this down. You'll be emailed it once, and you can see it in your client area if you have two-factor on. But please make this really hard. These are your name server prefixes. So I'm going to use NS1 and NS2. By default, this is what most of you want to use. If you have multiple servers, then you might want to change this. So, if you already have NS1 and NS2 for your domain, NS3, NS4, NS5, NS6, whatever naming convention you decide on, but NS1 and NS2 are the defaults, but these can be whatever. All right, so control panel. Default is InterWorx, it's free. If you want to add Web Host Manager and cPanel, you can see all these options now. And I'm sorry there's so many, but it's not really up to us. It's cPanel that's doing it. It has these tiers. So we have discounted rates. So if you go to cPanel and buy your license, you're going to pay more than if you get it with us here at NameHero. Now, we absorb some of the cost of the license to make it more affordable for you. So you can create up to 100 cPanel accounts for $20 a month, 200 for $30, 300 for $40, and it kind of keeps going from there. There is a different price from VPS because they do consider a dedicated different than they do a VPS. So if you're going to upgrade your VPS to a dedicated, please keep that in mind. You also need to upgrade your license tier. InterWorx is free and unlimited on both Cloud Dedicated and VPS. Monthly bandwidth, we kind of already talked about that. If you want to go to 10 terabytes, you can. It's $50 a month, 20 terabytes, $100 a month. From time to time, we'll run specials on these. Again, most people, the 5 terabytes is just fine, and you'll never go over that. Number of IP addresses, by default, you get 1 free. If you need more, you can add them here. You can add up to 10. If you need more than 10, you would need to be using all of these, and we would need to see the usage, and we'd have to have the exact reason you needed another IP address. We have to submit that to the Association of Assigned Numbers in the United States that kind of gives these out to make sure they're being used in compliance. So you can select up to 10 for default, and if you need more, then you have to reach out to us. Most people, especially with the automatic SSL certificates using SNI, you're not going to need more than just a couple. So it's up to you, and these are monthly rates. I would just start with 1. You can always add these later. These are offsite backups, so I can disable them if I don't want to use them, or I can enable them. These are available inside of your client interface, inside of NameHero. And these are complete server backups. So let's say tomorrow comes and maybe you had a business partner that went rogue on you and they deleted some stuff. You could restore the entire server with these. These are not per account backups. These are not per website backups. These are entire server backups. So it's not only the accounts, it's all the data on the server, all your configurations. I recommend having them. If it's me, I have them. But if not, you should have your own backup plan in place. These are per month prices. 100 gigabytes, this is the quota. So even though, your server here has 210 gigabytes, this is only usable space. So, if you're using 100 gigabytes, this will back up to 100. And then it will back up per day, until you reach the quota. Then if you need more, you can always add it. So, if you have 50 gigabytes, you could hold about 2 days worth. If you have 25 gigabytes, then you could hold about 4 days worth. And so kind of calculate it like that. But these kind of go on up from there. Again, I recommend them just because they're inside the interface. You can point and click and restore the server without ever having to raise a support ticket or anything like that, and do it on demand. I just caution you that it's full server backups. It's not per account. All right, now we'll continue on, and you can see here's our discount applying. So with the standard dedicated server, you've got your InterWorx license, unlimited, create as many sites you want. You have your backup plan added on this. We're looking at $163.96 a month, and this is recurring. So make sure that you keep that in mind. This is a special deal running. I don't know when you watch this video. You might watch it a year from now. We might not be running this. So if we're not, then discounts come and go. So when you see a good one, take advantage of it. So now I'm going to check out, and our checkout process is pretty simple. You just enter your name, billing, and your support PIN. This is a 4-digit unique number in case you need to call in or get chat support, so we can verify you are who you say you are. And then you can kind of review your charges. This shows what's due today, how much you saved with the coupon, and what's going to recur each month on your payment method, because it's auto renewal. You can do credit card, PayPal, or cryptocurrency with Coinbase. And we give you the option to opt in for specials. And then once you're finished, you complete order. I'm going to pause this video while I enter all this, and then I'll resume and show you what it looks like. All right, so after I complete my order, I'm showing this quick survey here. And at NameHero, we're obsessed with customer relationships with our customer service and support team. So if this video helped you out, or if a sales tech or sales representative or tech support agent helped you out, we certainly do appreciate all 5 stars. And you have the opportunity to share your experience with others, about what you think so far, and then also why you decided on NameHero. You're going to leave your name, and you don't have to put your name. You'll just say anonymous, and then your email. And this is just so we can follow up. We certainly do appreciate all of these, but by no means is it a requirement. If you don't want to fill it out, just click the X. All right, so my order has been placed. On average, it takes about 30 minutes from the time you place your order for your cloud dedicated server to spin up. Unlike traditional servers, these can spin up in real time. Now, the cloud dedicated server inventory is dynamic, so it does mean that you might order and it might take a little bit longer than 30 minutes. So if it does, please just have some patience. Most of the time it's turned around very quickly, if not 30 minutes, within the next couple of hours. Maximum, we say about 24 hours, depending on your configuration. But again, on average, 30 minutes, you should be all set. So I'm going to continue to client area, and I'll show you how you know when it's online. Pretty much immediately you're going to receive an email that says your order is being processed. Once the server begins to spin up, you'll get your welcome email, which gives the IP address and stuff of the server. But it also, once you get that, the server's still not accessible until it completes spinning. So I'm going to show you how to tell that. So right here is our main interface, and I'm going to click on Cloud Web Hosting, and I'm going to navigate down to my dedicated. So I've been doing some tests in this account. So if I go to active, I can see our standard cloud dedicated is right here. And if I go down here, you can see it looks, if you've had a VPS with this before, it looks very similar. If I go on down here, you can see here's my host name. Here is my primary IP address and my name servers. And then my quick server functions, I can actually start the server. Obviously, it's already running, or shut it down. I can reboot it, and this does a hard reboot. This is like pushing the button on your computer to restart it. So this will do that. NodeWorks, this is the master control panel for InterWorx, and we'll talk about that in a second. History just shows the history, when I ordered it, and if any notification comes about. Backups, this is where those backups we ordered will show up as they generate. If I click it now, I'm not going to have any because I just spun the server up, but over time this will start to populate. Going back here. And then finally, I have an option for block storage, and this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. If I add a backup volume to have extra storage on it, this would be listed inside of here. That's not available through the order process right now. Most of the time, customers will ask for it, but we are going to work on implementing that so you can add it in real time during your initial order. But if I look at status, this tells me if the server has been spun up yet, and you can see the status is running, and it was really about 25 minutes ago, so not quite 30 it took for this one to get online. So depending on the configuration you ordered, depends kind of on the time, but on average about 30 minutes, and it should turn from building to running when you can access it. Now if it's still saying building, or even if you're not seeing any of this yet, then just give it some time and you'll get that welcome email shortly. All right, so the first thing that you want to do when you get your cloud dedicated online is to click in your NodeWorx here, and this is your master control panel. Now as you can see, I'm getting a privacy error. At NameHero, when you first spin up your server, you most likely don't have your DNS set for your host name. So this is a temporary link. And regardless, we always hard code the temporary link in here because you could always access your control panel from here regardless of the DNS status. So, if you're using Cloudflare for DNS and Cloudflare goes down, you can still access it. So we can proceed. This is safe. It's a self-signed certificate on the IP. Just means your server generated the SSL. It's not generated by a trusted authority. And so you wouldn't want to send visitors to this, but again, you can access your control panel. So we're going to proceed here. And you can see now I've got my NodeWorx panel. So this is the control panel that I'm going to go and configure and set up my cloud dedicated server. I can use I will use the default email address that the server spun up with and the password. This information is located right here under login details. So if I click login details, I'll be able to see it. You do have to have two-factor enabled in order to be able to view this. So I would have to actually go here and enable this on my NameHero account to see it, or it would be inside of my welcome email. So that's how you access NodeWorx, though. Those details would be inside of here, the username and the password. With NodeWorx, you're going to be able to edit that username because it's default. Whereas if you had a web host manager or cPanel server, the username would be simply root. But then, of course, the password is the root password. So now the server's online and it's ready to be configured. I'm not going to configure it in this video because I've already got a separate VPS configuration tutorial. And again, I keep saying VPS, but VPS and cloud dedicated, it's very similar, with the difference being the actual dedicated processor, dedicated hardware. So if I go here to web hosting and click cloud dedicated, and if I scroll down here, I can see some additional tutorials on how to operate NodeWorx if you're not familiar with InterWorx yet. I'm personally a huge fan of it just because you don't have to worry about the whole licensing structure. If you want to create 5 sites, 10 sites, especially if you're a reseller web host and you say, well, I just started my business. I hope I have thousands of customers. I don't have any yet. NodeWorx is a good start, or InterWorx is a good start because you're going to build the same today versus when you have 1,000 customers or 500 customers or 100 customers. Whereas cPanel, you'd have to keep doing this upgrade and adding costs, and it's more dynamic than just being a static number. But now again, you can go in and configure the host name and get everything set up, and then take it from there, and you can start using your cloud dedicated server here at NameHero. Again, if you need to upgrade, here on the left, you can see a section that says upgrade, downgrade. And so if I needed to spin up a more powerful instance with more RAM, more disk space or whatnot, I could come here and select it. So you can see I'm on the standard. If I needed to select the enhanced or the enterprise or the hypersonic, I would just select it here. I would select one of them here, and it's going to show me the price prorated. So all of our billing cycles for our cloud dedicated are monthly. That's how it is now. Maybe it'll change in the future for our launch. But this is going to take what you've already paid, and it's again prorated. So if you've had your server for 3 days or 15 days, this amount's going to be less. Because it's just for the rest of your billing cycle, rest of the month, and then next month they'll bill the full total. So again, this is a great way to, when you have to upgrade, you don't have to take that expense on at once. You can kind of add those resources. But so here would be the price that, since I just deployed it, it'd be $80 more. And I would just go here and select my payment method and continue and process my order. Now, once your order is in, our sales team will most likely contact you and say, hey, did you want those resources added right now, immediately? Because if so, we'll do it. But some people want to wait till the evening. And since these resources are added on demand, you don't have prolonged downtime, but the server does have to reboot about once or twice, depending on what you're adding. And so reboots do cause like a brief little bit of downtime. But it's not anything prolonged. 5 minutes at the, normally 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how far up you're going or what exactly you're adding to the server. So again, since it requires those reboots, we will typically ask, hey, right now, huge traffic spike, that's fine. Just confirm it. If not, then we can do it tonight or tomorrow or even during the weekend during non-peak traffic hours, since it requires those reboots. So that's how that works. And if I go back into here as well, If you need help doing a migration, we do provide complimentary migrations for up to 10 accounts coming on your cloud dedicated. If you have root access, if you're moving from another dedicated server, if you're moving from another VPS and you have root access, we'll move everything for you. You just have to let us know. And so you just go under support and tickets and open a new ticket, and under the migrations, I'll just show you real quick, open ticket and migrations. You would just open it inside of here, and our migrations team will get right with you. Typically those take 24 to 48 hours depending how busy the migrations desk is, but even faster than that in most cases. A lot of migrations we like to turn around within just a couple of hours, but it depends on how much you need migrated. But that's kind of that. Your cloud dedicated is online and you're just ready to begin using it. And again, I like InterWorx just because of the unlimited license deal, but cPanel Web Host Manager, I still love that. I still love their interface. I still love the product itself, but the licensing tiers might be kind of inconvenient for some of you, and that's another reason why that we wanted to provide it complimentary with both our VPSs, with our VPS and our cloud dedicated. So again, as you grow, you don't have to worry so much about your monthly price changing, your ROI fluctuating. But again, you have the option to do as you please. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them under this video. I'm also get some blog posts out, and I'm going to do tons more tutorials on cloud dedicated, but also a lot of our VPS tutorials coincide because on a virtual level, in the control panel and the setup, it's very similar. So if you have a VPS with us, it's the same type of setup, but you're having more dedicated power. So I think that's the important thing to note, the difference about a VPS and a cloud dedicated. It's that dedicated kind of workhorse power. So let us know. Thanks so much for watching and using us here at NameHero.com.